Welcome back, everybody. We have got another game coming up, and we've got another caster as well. Scriv, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was tuning in, giving it a little bit of a watch. Obviously, we're covering India again here, so I wanted to see what those guys were capable of. But yeah, pretty excited to get into things. I've not really done the international Counter-Strike before, and obviously when I first got started as a commentator, it was kind of on the way out, but now it's making a bit of a resurgence again. So I'm excited to see how this pans out.
Yeah, I think it should be exciting. You're right. We've got India playing once again against Pakistan. So curious to see how that's going to be playing out. I'm definitely excited for it. Yeah, you've been following a little bit here. I mean, some of the Counter-Strike is wild and unpredictable. But what's your feeling? I mean, Nero was we're talking of India a little bit, saying that region was probably going to be a little bit stronger. You got a similar feeling?
Yeah, I think so. They kind of come in as a solid professional team, right? Is one of the big things. God's reign. I'm sure this has all been sort of touched on. But yeah, and I think that gives them a pretty big upper hand against the rest of the kind of local region. Whether it gives them an advantage against the rest of Asia is a little bit difficult to say. But I think that, some of the teams that are around them, obviously Pakistan, Bangladesh that we're seeing here in the BO1s at the very least, I think they will have a pretty clean upper hand for sure.
Yeah, I expect the same thing. But, Neo at least pointed out one of the players from Pakistan there that we could check out his Pokemon. So hopefully he'll be fired up and ready to carry his country through. I don't think it's going to be easy. India looks super full of confidence, and like on all fronts, they just had a really, really strong lineup. So we will see how it plays out, though. Classic rivalry that happens, I believe, across a bunch of different sports, right? I guess most famously in cricket, I believe, is like a long history there. Not that I watch a lot of that, but even I know that's it matters to the two countries who wins or loses in that sport. So maybe we could build the same thing in Counter-Strike over the years. That would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I also don't watch a lot of cricket. I got to be honest. Counter-Strike definitely better, though. Counter-Strike definitely better, and hopefully it is something. I think with these tournaments coming in, it's going to bring these teams, these rivalries, kind of to the forefront and create a little bit more of that kind of passion around playing for your country and whatnot. I remember IESF last year, a lot of the teams there were really, really into it, and it makes a big difference to just kind of step away from the rest of the pro circuit and play something that has a different sort of meaning behind it. You can find a lot more energy in there. Of course, the India roster here. I think catching them in the previous game, I will say, Anders, they look very, very good, right? Bangladesh, a little tough for them, not quite as coordinated, not quite as put together, but, some of the post-plan, some of the retake situation, these, harder to get together, harder to practice kind of areas of the game, did look really, really good from India, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Just recapping the lineup here, we've got Bavi, we got Fired Up, R2B2, Finn, and Revan. And I'd say, apart from Bavi having a bit of a slow start, really, it was all out, like just a powerful lineup. Fired Up was the top performer, but I would say out of the other three there, we still saw very, very high levels in terms of what they were able to do. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we're going to see more of that. It could be somebody else this time that's going to end up top fracking. Revan definitely looked like another strong contender, but yeah, I think for Pakistan, that's going to be the hard thing. Also, is like you're not just talking about one or two players on the Indian side that can be playing well. They were talking about like 4 or 5 players that are going to be looking good. So yeah, for Pakistan, this is the lineup, and Pokemon's right there. We've got Rocky, HSB. We've got Sad But True. That is a fantastic name. And C, I'm assuming the H is silent. Yeah, good. Again, good names.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, so what we have here is a little bit of the amalgam of the Come Mid team, they're called. It's a little bit difficult. It does say sort of on our document, the information that we've got, that they're all listed under Come Mid. But then sort of historically with where this team's been playing, it's a bit hard to track. Not every tournament that they're taking place in gets listed on HLTV or Liquipedia, that sort of thing. But some recognizable names. I think Pokemon is the one. Played out in the Middle East for a little bit as well there. So I think that, he has really made a bit of a name for himself, a little bit of an older guy as well, been around for a while. So brings that kind of experience. I say older guy, he's the same age as me. So, I've just kind of self-reported a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, there are some good names in this team. HSB, Rocky, been playing together for a good while as well. So They could bring something to the table for sure. I think it's not going to be the easiest kind of ride for them, right? They're taking part in a lot of qualifiers and things like this within the region, but not necessarily placing super high. You know, one that springs to mind is the draft, which Blast put on at the start of this year. They had a little bit of a bye going in, right? They skipped the first stage and still couldn't pick up a victory against, you know, other teams from the region, few Indian teams, few Pakistani teams in there. So I don't know. We'll see here. I think that they do have some good individuals. They do have some experience, but God's Reign are going to be very used to this team. They know exactly what is set to come. But we're here on Anubis, Anders, once again.
Yes, with Vertigo. This has been the long-running meme for the broadcast so far, is that we never get to see Vertigo go past like the first 1 or 2 bands, no matter what. So it's out once again, but Anubis being picked. Everybody seems to like Anubis. What are your feelings on Vertigo? Are you part of the Vertigo hate club?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, to be honest. I think it can be a bit fun to play, but that's maybe at, you know, my sort of level that's very casual. Because obviously there's a lot of dynamicism to the map when you're playing it. Obviously at a pro level, they're not massive fans. And then I think the big thing at the moment is just the fact that these changes have come in. No one's had any time to really work on it. No one's brave enough to be the first team to just give it a go. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a trend, isn't it? It's trickled down from the top. Like obviously we ended the circuit, the main circuit with Blast London. No one playing Vertigo there, right? You know, no teams really want to tackle it just yet. I think that's sort of the big thing at the moment. But yeah, I think it has a place, but it's just a really difficult map to play, and not a lot of pro players are a big fan of where Vertigo's at the moment, to be honest. And I think that paints quite a fair picture. And then, yeah, because of that, from a spectator's standpoint, it's just never all that fun for me, I feel.
Yeah, I guess I'm with you a little bit. Like, I don't necessarily hate playing it. You know, I can just kind of like disconnect my brain and just kind of run around and play Counter-Strike. I think on almost any map, to be honest. So that sense, but it does bother me as a caster that I can't actually get to cast the map. Like, it just gets banned every time. I feel like when it finally trickles through, I'm going to be caught off guard. I'm going to be like, what the hell is going on here? You know. I think what's interesting now, because it's not being picked for so many different tournaments, you start to wonder, wait, you know, when we get to the major, surely 1 or 2 top teams is going to say, actually, we'll leave it in as like a map that we never pick, but that we can play, and that, you know, no one knows about it. And like, all we need to do is like slip it through once, that it's like a third deciding map, and it's like a huge unknown. So like, I feel like for the pro scene as a whole, it's such a weird scenario that it's out there, but nobody's playing it. Yeah, maybe that'll come into play at some point.
Yeah, definitely possible. I think, you know, it is going to be interesting here, because the thing is as well, obviously we're sort of doing these qualifiers as has to be done sometimes within the player break, as it were, you know, not super egregious, but like technically we look at like EWC, I suppose, as being the event that brings us back in. But also, once the bigger events start hitting the ground again, like it is immediate, you know, you've got like a bunch of events back to back to back to back. So our teams, again, going to have that time to have worked on Vertigo? Maybe not, right? I think they'd probably want to ease it in and all this sort of stuff. So it is going to be a really interesting one, because you have this aspect of the fact that it has changed. But I think as well, yeah, there's a lot of teams out there that are like, not really bothered about Vertigo anyway. So like, what, I don't know that we necessarily want to bring it back into our pool or make it our pocket pick or whatever. You know what I mean? I think a lot of them are quite happy to just leave it where it was, is also kind of the interesting thing. If you change Mirage or Inferno, everyone's got to be learning and relearning what you've changed. But Vertigo is a map that, yeah, just not many teams like. So it's in a really curious place, and it may end up, you know, they might have also clocked onto the idea that it's like, let's work on it slowly, save it for the major, and then in that semi-final, similar to FaZe, you know, pull it out of nowhere and maybe make history, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, that is kind of fun to think about too. Like, nobody really liked Vertigo to begin with. Now it's changed, and nobody has like any real motivation to pick it up and play it. It's also kind of strange, because if you know a lot of other teams are going to be banning it, it's kind of strange to start to prank on a map that is probably never going to be allowed through anyway. So you're like, well, then we can play it against like maybe a couple of other, like you're hoping for that one moment where somebody slips up and, basically challenges you to ban it, and you don't do it, and then it kind of makes its way through anyway. But it's like, it's such a, spending your time on that could also be risky. But I guess we'll see when we come back from the player break. You're right, that could change things too. For this particular one, like we said, Anubis is going to be in there. It's still obviously in the realms of what we say, like one of the newer maps. So I'm still quite happy with it. I'm not bored of Anubis yet.
Yeah, I like Anubis as well, to be fair. It has been moving around and advancing a fair amount. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for an Anubis. And I think from this region as well, it's going to be a lot of fun. It does look like, I think we've both sort of read the same sort of message at the moment.
Yes.
We've got a bit of a delay coming in, unfortunately, folks. So we are going to have to head to a break here. Shouldn't be too long. Make sure you stick with us. We'll be back with that Counter-Strike soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the IESF qualifiers here. Continuing on with Asia, of course. Hoping to get into the action soon. If you are maybe just joining us, it is India versus Pakistan here. Pretty big matchup, I would say, especially for the region. And yeah, a little bit riding on this one. I think that both teams do have that experience against each other and should be very, very capable of picking up the victory here. We've ended up on Anubis. We've had a bit of a break waiting for servers to get going, but as far as I understand it, Anders, we would say touch wood here in the UK, but do whatever you do for good luck. We should be into the game shortly, I want to say.
Yes, we're hoping that at the very least. Obviously limited with the information, but it's kind of the nature of how the things play out. I think for people who play, we're talking about a bit about this off camera, right? Sometimes you kind of get used to, if you're living in Europe, you get kind of used to the internet kind of being there. It's more reliable. Some other areas of the world, not necessarily the case. So you're gonna have to play around it and just live with it. And even for a game like Counter-Strike, finding a server that everyone has in common that kind of works out can be kind of a tricky deal. So I think they're working on it, but we'll give them a little bit of time to sort it all out. We had this problem, it's a while ago now, but when we were doing the North African qualifier, it was very tricky to find. I think we actually ended up playing sometimes on European servers in spite of the fact that we were in North Africa, just because they were the ones that had like the most reasonable ping between the two different countries, which in itself is like a weird infrastructure problem to solve over time. That could be like an obstacle that most people maybe don't consider under normal circumstances, but hopefully they can find one. Apparently it's about 2 or 3 minutes to the game starts, so we can get through that. I don't think we need to go to another break necessarily, and just kind of get warmed up. Anubis as a map, where do you rate that? If you had to make like a map scale, does it like rank near the top or the bottom for you?
I think it would be just in that top edge, right? So okay. It would maybe be third or fourth, depending on the team, depending on the day. Some teams are pretty aggressive on it. I think one of the issues that we have in Europe, tier 2, especially at the moment, is a lot of teams at the moment just kind of sit there for a minute, don't really do anything, and then it gets interesting. So, I think that it depends. Some teams are a bit faster than a minute. They'll do it, earlier on in the round, or they'll kind of at least try and make something happen in that first minute. But there are a few, especially, the classic CIS region, that really just slow the map down, just because, you kind of can, especially on that T side. But I still think it's pretty interesting. There's a fair amount of nuance. And I like, again, when Ancient came in, it was a little bit original, the way that the angles work. They're not quite straight edges everywhere, and Anubis is a bit more of the same. So I think it makes things pretty interesting for some of the individual players, as it were, and the way that they approach the fight. So I quite like Anubis, but it's certainly not like my favorite.
Okay, yeah, I probably some similar feelings for me. I was very nervous about it in the beginning because I just felt like the CTs were so restricted in what they were able to do. But I think over time that kind of got opened up a little bit. People figured out more ways to do it, and that's probably good for the map in general. You have to take some risks on the CT side, I feel like, but if people know how to do it, it does open up the map for a lot more play. So yeah, not too bad at the moment. Shout out to those of you in the chat that are hanging out. Yeah, we had a bunch of people earlier for the Australian and New Zealand game. I think some of them dispersed since, but yeah, if anyone of you are enjoying it, tuning in, give us a notice if you're rooting for India or for Pakistan here. I think it's funny to see, what if there are some people who sort of worry about the how their local team is doing. That always makes it a bit more fun for me, at least. Again, we're trying to qualify people to go to Chengdu, China, and then if you win from there, you get to move on to Riyadh at the end of the year for the championship itself. Quite a long road to get there, but there's a lot on the line too. The competition last time around was pretty sick in Iași in Romania. We all had a really good time out there. So hopefully we can repeat that once again and just kind of increase it. Sweden currently defending the championship, and I'm sure they're going to want to, go on that for another year and do it one more time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Deep pools for sure in Sweden is the big thing. I think there's a lot of talent to get through. We can see here that's one of the maybe issues you could say with a variety of the Asian teams. When we sort of look across all the information that we've been very nicely fed and whatnot about some of these players that are a little harder to find information on, they all sort of play on the same team already. They all play a bit professionally and things like that. So it does mean that, you really have to put your best foot forward and then hopefully have that ability there as a team already. You can't necessarily be like, oh, well, there's this guy that I always wanted to play with. I could maybe, pluck him out and ask him if he wants to come and represent the country and stuff like this. It can be a bit harder. You have to really just rely on what you already have, which makes things maybe gives you an advantage against like the lower level teams, but then those higher level teams, when you start in their minds, of course, playing off against the European teams and whatnot at the end of the year, I think that it makes things a little bit difficult. So yeah, I'd say for me, Sweden have got a pretty good chance. I think I want to say Denmark were pretty okay last time as well. There are always a couple of countries that perform quite well. So we'll see come Riyadh how things look. But Chengdu, I think, could be very interesting. Obviously, the Mongolian region is the one to sort of watch at the moment within Asia.
Oh, yeah.
They're putting forward the vast majority of the Huns team. Again, a pretty scary team. You've got some very recognizable 9 score Bartak in there, some really recognizable players. So I think that they're the team to beat within this region for sure. But at the same time, I think for me, the Indian guys can definitely do that. They look like a pretty serious contender.
Yeah, so far they've looked impressive today. I do agree, though, the Mongolian team was really, really high-powered team. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out. I could see a bunch of the European nations also fielding some reasonable lineups. So hopefully we just get to see more competition. And obviously there's a women's tournament happening as well. So we're gonna get to see that side of the bracket too once we get there, which I think is very encouraging. That was also fun, and it's good to meet up with those players. Once we get to the LAN, you get to talk about experience and kind of like get to mix and match between people. So I think that's very interesting, all on its own. All right, we've got some people who are on the Indian side in the chat. So I got some Indian support going on over on Twitch. That's always good, but we'll see if that picks up. So we're still waiting for the server to go all the way live, and then hopefully we'll get into the game before too long on Anubis to go with here. How do you have any thoughts about the current state of CS2? I can't really figure out what the community feel like. I feel like half the time people are complaining and saying that they want things changed, but I feel like the game is in a better state surely than it was, when it first launched, right? Yeah, I think. Look, it's a bit of a difficult one for me. I think that, so starting from kind of the bottom up, as it were, in terms of the areas that I would find important, right? The game itself, I think, feels pretty good. Obviously, functions a hell of a lot better than like Source did when it first came, Go did when it first came, which is pretty important. The fact that we were able to pick up, where we left off sort of thing. Speaking of, we are into the Counter-Strike, so we're going to have to put a pin in that conversation a little bit, Anders, but I'm sure we'll come back to it when we've got more time to fill, of course. Yeah, we've been rudely interrupted by the game. I do like this. Trying to push out a little bit on the CT side. It's a very aggressive scenario. The bomb is planted, but they've lost everything in the backline. India back with the same level of aggression that we saw when they were playing in the first game here today. It's just HSB on his own, and the smoke is up in front, and they're gonna take him down. They didn't even really bother defusing until they actually found the kill. So that is one of the quickest retakes we've seen yet. Yeah, absolutely. I think Pakistan, the vast majority of them sort of coming through that middle area to get the bomb down.
But it was a really heavy B push in from India. I think that was the big thing, right? And they were able to pull off this massive flank and kind of get them going. So, yeah, that's, I think, what we're in tune for. Like you mentioned, that aggression, that confidence, something that they can go for. And an awful lot of coordination behind that as well, I think. It's a very small thing, but it does paint a good picture when they all went for the frag instead of, one player on the bomb, one player kind of defending him, two of them going for the, it wasn't very messy. It was all on the same page. So I think that, again, is something that they're able to bring as a coordinated professional team outside of IESF.
Yeah, I think just following through and having everyone be on the same page is definitely going to make a big difference here. So we've got India with a 1-round lead. A little bit of typing going on. That's never a good sign. Whenever people start typing in the server, that's when both tournament ops and casters get real nervous because you never know what that means. But we'll see if it's a big problem or if it's something that can be solved on the spot. But I think in terms of leaderboard, someone's asking in the chat, if you go to iesf.gg, you should be able to get an update on like all of the standings and where everyone is and who's close to qualifying and all the rest of it. That should be information that's there. So, yeah, check that out if you're in any doubts about where your country is headed and how well they're doing. I mean, obviously with the bomb plant, you would expect for there to be some investment into the round, but it's not a guarantee. There are countries here who sometimes will, go for more Deagle Tech 9 kind of heavy as opposed to trying to go a little bit deeper. But we'll see how they play it out once the game resumes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the philosophy on where the force buys are at in a very different spot. I know you were on with Neo this morning, and I'm kind of on the same page. We talk about it quite a lot when we cast together about where particularly CT force buys are and just how effective they are and how players can be quite stubborn. You obviously will remember the Org meta and the Krieg meta. These guns didn't really get changed damage-wise. They just sort of changed the price on them, and then teams started using them. It's sort of an idea of if they'd even started using them before, they probably would have been powerful enough to create a meta of their own. Yes, slightly more expensive, but I think that teams would have really gone for it, especially that damn Org, man. It was really not a good time, to be honest, and yeah, just a really, really sort of interesting look into the philosophy of players and how stubborn they usually are. So I think that's kind of what we're getting with the force buys at the moment. But it does look on that vein as I think we're slowly, getting back into things here. It looks like Pakistan are going to go down the middle actually and not fully spend.
Okay. Maybe not too much of an investment here. Yeah, I think you're right when it comes to Krieg and the Org. Like there definitely was a moment where people just didn't bother, right? Like they kind of knew, but nobody really. And then once you saw other players do well with the Krieg, maybe especially, everyone was like, all right, if these guys are doing it, we'll do it too and try and make that work. So yeah, sometimes you just need somebody else to kind of pave the way and then everyone will follow along. That's how it is. So maybe we'll see some new inventions in the economy game here for this one. You're still waiting on that last go, unfortunately. So hopefully if we get any information, we'll keep you guys updated on what's happening, but otherwise we'll just kind of be sat here waiting with the rest of you. Yeah. If you've got any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. Obviously, we'll try and answer those in the meantime. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about doing online Counter-Strike in general is because, you actually can interact with the Twitch chat. I think that's hugely underrated. For big tournaments, you just kind of pretend like Twitch chat doesn't exist. But I kind of hate that. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions in there. We'll do our best to answer them along the way.
Yeah, man, I think, it's definitely something that finding a way to integrate it, is an area that I think for a while there we were looking at, but has maybe just been thrown to the wayside ever so slightly. I don't know. I like a bit of a type in the Twitch chat and maybe don't reference it as much on broadcast. I'm not sure. It's difficult. It's difficult to get right, you know what I mean? And not let you distract too much from the game. I think my ADHD brain, man, it's not good to have it up there. I'll just, zone out when I'm not casting and then suddenly there'll be silence. I'll be like, oh, I'm meant to be talking, So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see for myself.
Listen, I'm not going to try and make the claim that Twitch chat is really good for anybody, but but it is fun. Like there's something about it that I just enjoy, right? Like it goes into like I say my broader theory of what's gone, I think, a bit wrong in esports. But I think part of the issue is that in a way, like as much as crazy as it is, Twitch chat are like the primary customer base, right? Like those are the people that show up and watch things. And so the idea of pretending like those people don't exist, especially for big tournaments, I'm like, if you've got 100,000 potential customers in your chat room and we're saying we don't care, like we're not going to talk to those people. Like, why not? Like, I know they're crazy, but at the same time, like, again, they're the people who show up and spend the most time on your product. So I imagine that what's going to happen in the future of esports, in some sense, we're going to have to try and divert into that direction. And we're going to have to find a way to cater to those people. And to put it crudely, even though it sounds maybe a little bit less sexy, but like you have to try and you have to find a way to give them stuff that they'll actually pay for to interact with the whole thing. Like, I think that's that's the only way forward. So yeah, I'm pro Twitch chat for all its flaws and everything else. Just like we got to get there.
Yeah,
somehow.
for sure. I know ideas have always circulated around like pay-per-view. Is that the way to do it? Probably not. Like how do you kind of get them? I feel like you have to give ultimately some kind of reward for a Twitch sub. You know what I mean? That's just a little bit beyond supporting the channel. I think maybe they need to indeed speak to people behind the scenes at Twitch and some sort of premium esports platform if you do sub to the channel, maybe, because that feels like an easy one. You can also, obviously, the Twitch Prime angle, I know that's quite popular, right? So a lot of people would probably at least test the waters with their Prime sub, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think there's definitely a world in which they should be integrated, and it would make everybody's life a lot easier. But it's one of those where maybe 10 years down the line of esports really taking off, are we a little late to that party, to make people sort of part with their money when they can get things for free. So it's complicated. Yeah. It's definitely a complicated issue.
It is not easy to solve. Apparently they are good to go. So hopefully we can get back into the game and try and get the match back underway. I think, for the region, I'm not sure if it's too uncommon to have this kind of a disconnect. I fear that it might be something that they're kind of used to playing in the region. So hopefully you just get it back on. People are saying that Nepal are leading over Bangladesh at the moment. So a little bit of an update from the chat. We appreciate it. And here we go. We're right back into it. So good news all around. India, they win the pistol. If you missed that, it's a great retake on the A-bomb side. Now we're back in second round here. And Pakistan, they could have invested a little bit more, but they kind of go for some of the pistols here, and we'll see if they're going to have any amount of success with it. I feel like getting a couple of kills on the bomb plant here would be great. Yeah,
absolutely. That's generally your goal. I mean, just with any kind of an investment, you want to do some damage with it. You want to make it worthwhile, even if it is from an angle of we'll still be able to buy in the next round. Clearly got a bit of a game plan here. Bit of a shame that they lose too early on. I don't know that they'll be able to do an awful lot with this utility, but if they get a few peaks going their way, it might obviously make a difference. HSB on this Deagle looking pretty tasty. Gonna try and break in towards the bomb site here. Easier said than done. Loses it on the backside, and there is a bit of a commit coming round, but unfortunately that weaponry, that lack of armor, going to let Pokemon down. Still, they get their 2 kills. They don't quite get the bomb plant, but there is a little return on that investment. Just keeping the economy modest is how I like to put it.
Yeah, that's kind of a goal all on its own. So, we like to see some stuff like that. AKs have come out here in the third round. No real surprise. Pretty decent utility. Maybe could have wished for a tiny few more grenades there on the T side, but ultimately they're probably going to be fine. One MP9 still in play on Bavi, so we'll see if he's going to be able to have an impact with that one. Ooh, nice grenade. I think that will land on at least one player out there. Rocky getting tagged up just a bit from it, so maybe not too devastating.
Slow build up here, though. Yeah, as kind of mentioned, I think some teams like taking their time, to be honest, Anders. It really does start off a bit slow. However, again, India with this very, very aggressive kind of posturing, especially out towards middle. You don't see a lot of teams in the early stage of the rifle buys and whatnot, before they've gotten some money behind them or some confidence behind them. You don't see a lot of them going deep into mid like that.
It was a very slow round. India, so far, they haven't really proven that they're, even on the CT side, they're usually not big fans, it feels like, of just kind of sitting around and waiting. So a little bit surprised to see them with this quiet of a round here. Is Bobby going to be winning the first fight, taking down HSB? And there's nobody else there, so he's going to be able to pick up the AK. They have to go for it. They have to go for the A-bomb side right now. Slowing it down is not going to get him any better. Oh, the spray is pretty damn good. And not a single kill happening so far in favor of Pakistan. So this is India coming up with a pretty stunning round. Going to heavily help their economy out. And they've even so far stolen 2 AKs. Could even be potentially another one to steal here if they can find the kill, and they can. So yeah, they can upgrade a lot in this one.
Yeah, really, really nice stuff. Great way to kick it off. But again, nothing too complicated from them. I think, as you said, maybe a bit surprising they weren't right in the face of their opponents, but they were pretty close. You know what I mean? They were right on the line. Definitely wanting those fights, but not necessarily forcing them. So maybe a bit of respect being shown across to the Pakistani players. But once the fights came their way, just no real contest in there. Seems like we're still hitting a few issues here, unfortunately. But
it's
it's
one of those days.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be affecting India too much. It's maybe more on that Pakistan kind of side, and don't rightly know where they're playing out of. But India is such a big place. I feel like maybe if they are on the other side of the country to where Pakistan is, it could be a bit of a difficult one to find the right server, or maybe we're just having internal issues, with wherever these guys are playing from, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the issue, isn't it? Like, all it takes is kind of one player to have an internet that's throwing some fits, and suddenly you're in a little bit of trouble. So we'll get the information to you guys as soon as we can. But yeah, I think if India, they just seem to be waiting on the sidelines. They're just saying, you know what, whenever you guys want to play, we're ready to go and win these rounds. But obviously, they can't do that so much. I guess they're getting their momentum slowed down a little bit behind that. It happens. But yeah, in the meantime, we can, we don't have any more information than you guys do. So once we get some, we'll throw it over to you and, get a chance here. But I think in the meantime, it looks like Nepal just crushing on their game. So I guess that's good to see. A little bit of an update there. GG go next, people are saying in the chat, saying that's it. Get the auto win for India. Let's see if we can get Pakistan a chance to get their connection sorted out. But I mean, we had problems in the past where, a couple of teams have had to sort of play almost 4 versus 5 because they just gave up on trying to find a player that could play. So it can happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult one. I'm just sort of rolling through here a little bit. I'm not sure. It feels like at this point, if we've moved around a few servers, that it might unfortunately be, like, say, a little bit more of an internal issue, a little bit more of a player-based issue, rather than, we have to find the perfect server that's got, the right distance and whatever. You feel like they probably would have done that by now. So we'll see what sort of continues to plague us here, and whether it is one of those things where maybe we got to go try and get someone else in. I don't think that either of these teams have got any. There's a couple subs for India listed. I'm not quite sure what the rule book says on getting people in mid-match though. But at the same time, we might just have to stomach it a little bit, play through it. But unfortunately, we will see. I think again we're sort of swapping across, and we're going to see sort of what the players agree between themselves as well with how happy they are around the servers. I don't know. I couldn't really see any massive issues once we were playing. So, it might just, loss is a bit of a classic one, right? That's a bit hard to detect on our end and whatnot. So, yeah, it's obviously going to affect the game a little bit here, and everyone wants to make sure that they're all perfect. But there is obviously going to come a point here where we kind of just have to get through it at the end of the day, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think there's usually, I don't know the rule book exactly, but usually there's a set amount of time that you can, call for a pause and have problems. And eventually, you just say, okay, well, you're kind of out of time. But I think from what I can tell, they're trying to see if they can, find a new server, and then hopefully they'll set that up and kind of get the game underway and be able to play hopefully from either from the lead that they had, or maybe one round, depending on how the matchmatic is working out. But yeah, this is obviously a bit of a rough start for India. I guess it sucks a little bit because when you're winning, you want to continue to roll the momentum forward. And maybe for Pakistan, it's troublesome if they feel like they can't play the game quite properly. So we'll keep you guys up to date once again for anything that's happening. What outside of Counter-Strike, Neo and I were talking about this, for sort of game recommendations. Do you have any strong game recommendations right now that you feel like people should try and play?
Okay, so this is actually a good time to ask me, because I have been working my way through, antisocial, not in the Discord with the boys, just playing the solo games that, I've been wanting to get through for however long. You know how it goes. The summer sale rolls around, you buy like 8 games, maybe I play half of one, and then it's just back to Counter-Strike. That's kind of our lives a little bit. But this time around, I've kind of, I'm going in. So I played Uncharted recently. I think it's Uncharted 4 that you can get on the computer with like the DLC and everything.
Okay.
That was actually really, really good. It's a little short maybe, but ultimately a very, very well-made game. Great experience. It's the same guys that made The Last of Us and all this kind of stuff. Elden Ring I've just started. That feels like a lot of fun. I never really got on with the Souls games, to be honest. I remember one of my friends is quite into them. He wanted me to play Dark Souls 1, and I just didn't get on with it. I tried my best. I did put like 20 hours into it, but it got to a certain point where I was just pretty inconsistent. And also, I kind of ruined myself in that game because I was using the halberd, right? And then I've put a gem in it or whatever. That changed the primary stat. I didn't really know that because I'm, not reading things closely enough. That's kind of on me. So I ended up putting the wrong stat, leveling the wrong stat. And now I just don't do any damage against the late game bosses and stuff like that. So I think I'm also going to have to start again. But one I will say that I've been working my way through, they're a little slow going. Maybe if, you are really into Counter-Strike, it might be a bit much. But I quite enjoyed them, is the Walking Dead Telltale games. I think they're pretty brilliant.
Okay.
So yeah, you can get the complete collection for like 10 quid. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good deal.
I like the idea of zombie games in general, but they seem to just be really, really hard to get right. Like it's not necessarily like the concept is there. I guess in for a more speedy version, right? Like Left 4 Dead kind of showed you can make really cool zombie games, but since then it seems like it's been hard for a lot of people to replicate that success. Well, we're back into it, so new server, hopefully with fewer problems as we're heading into round number 4.
Yes, indeed. So it looks like we are picking up where we left off. There was maybe a bit of thought around, will we get a round restart or anything like that. So it would seem maybe both teams therefore experiencing issues or whatever, right? If it was one team, maybe it would have been talked about. But also, round was indeed played out. Evan with a nice find to open things up. Not expecting too much out of this round from Pakistan, of course. Again, on that half buy for the most part. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're looking a little crispy on the Indian side of things. I got to be honest, some of these shots looking nice early on.
Yeah, they seem very, very confident. But, okay. We'll add that to the list. HSB coming up with a great couple of shots here. Oh, wow. If his teammates could have maybe matched him or at least got 1 or 2 kills, it would have been a very interesting round. I don't think there's a lot he could do from the middle here. The bomb is not in his back at the moment, and he's just got 40 seconds left, so he's kind of locked in right here, but some great work with the Tech 9, obviously. That was pretty impressive stuff. They know where he is, and they can just kind of have to cover the bomb, but they can kind of keep an eye on it. We're down to about 25 seconds, so don't think there's any way to win a round like this anymore. You kind of need to be a little bit quicker if you want to get close to it, but yeah, 18 seconds. So it will be a 4-0 in favor of India, but still, that was really some good Tech 9 shots.
Indeed, R2B2 comes out at the right time to find that frag. You would have given him that fight any day of the week again against the unarmored opponent. But yeah, I mean, keeping things interesting for sure on the Pakistan side of things. We just need a bit of that in the rifle round. And it does feel like in a lot of these rounds, actually, they're playing catch up. You know what I mean? Like India will make the first move or win the first exchange. And then, yeah, there might be something in the middle, but it's more of a recovery move rather than a win the round move. So I think that Pakistan need to find some of that pressure themselves. And it can be tough, you know, if you just can't get your claws into a game early, it can be really, really hard to figure out what's going wrong. But hopefully a really solid buy like this will be the turnaround that they need.
Right now, it's another really slow start. Again, I'm curious to see if India are going to hit a point in this game where they kind of, you know, get tired of waiting and just want to power on through, because that's kind of the attitude that they had in the first map that we saw with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to, at some point, you feel like you're winning so much, like, all right, let's just do this. Like, we can definitely, we can get this. I haven't hit that point yet, but they're certainly hitting all the shots that they need to. It's R2B2 to start this round with, and Revan, actually will get out-dueled. HSB, again, back at it with another good shot.
Yeah, I felt like Revan was maybe going to have that, and now it's opened this bomb site up pretty heavily, to be honest. HSB doing lots of work once again. I feel like that's got to be it. Pokemon pushing forwards. They try for an aggressive move. Not going to work. It's all on fired up here. Not out of the realms of possibility, you know. Player up close, super, super low. Nade might even find at this kind of range. Oh, it doesn't, you know, just needed a single point of damage, for goodness sake. But unfortunately, as they often do, the nade letting us down and fired up is kind of conceding here. Hoping to catch an exit or two. Maybe overstaying his welcome ever so slightly. Pakistan, though, will find themselves on the board and cleanly. Pretty important round for them to start closing this gap.
Yeah, one good step in the right direction. And, you know, we'll just start. We'll take it 4-1 in favor of India. They had a fair bit of money in the bank, though, on the CT side, so they were able to continue the battle on for a while longer. But if Pakistan could win this next round, it will be different, right? All of a sudden, there will be really no money left on the CT side, and it becomes a bit more of an interesting game. So let's see how this one plays out. AWP also in the hands of HSB still, so if he can keep it up, it's going to be rocky to start this one with. Taking down fired up. Okay, some signs of life here out of Pakistan.
Yeah, very possible. Good to see. Very, very good to see indeed. Still a lot of time to work through in this round as well. So, question is now, are we going to wind it all the way down, try and go for that late round execute, or will they look to press the attack and find another kill their way to seal this one in? It looks like India also want to get a little busy with it. They'll trade 1-for-1 pretty quickly. HSB, that felt like a weird kill. I don't know that that was necessarily through smoke. Looked like he was maybe a little bit around the corner as well, but he still manages to find that trade all the same. Just a bit faster than my eyes are used to, I suppose. Either way, Pakistan, I'd give them a pretty heavy upper hand now.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. The only thing is that, oh, wow, look at the rotation as well. India almost with a bit of a gamble, saying, let's go double up in middle to see if anyone is there. They are getting back to the bomb site, so they might get here in time. All right. The window where I think Pakistan could have walked onto the B bomb site and just kind of won it automatically has closed a little bit now. At least there's going to be some sort of a fight happening. There's one. Ooh, and it's a team kill as well. What a disaster. From a 2-on-4 into a, or 3-on-4 into a 2-versus-2 all of a sudden here. Oh, sad but true. We'll take down Bobby. So maybe they're going to be fine anyway. But there was a real chance there that Pakistan were about to screw up that round, or maybe a little bit more than they would have wanted. Revan, though, not going to get any free engagement here. So he has to sort of commit to the fight, or maybe even better save the AWP.
Yeah, probably will be the case with no one walking into his crosshair, right? It's a little bit of a shame, man. 2v2 comes in. Just have to try and freeze. Is it going to be Barbie, I think, who was in on the site, that maybe got a little giddy once that bomb started going down?
Yeah.
You know, it's benefit of hindsight and all that sort of stuff, but that was maybe the moment for India to just relax a little bit, let Pakistan stew in the fact that they were hitting a 2v2 all of a sudden, but he just gets, you know, a little overzealous and loses his life, really. Happens to the best of us, and even the best of the pros, really. All the same. Pakistan looking legit, you know, a couple rounds in a row, break the bank, and this could be a real opportunity to pick up this T side that was looking a little worrisome in the early stages.
Yeah, I think they've really managed to turn it around here. They've certainly managed to make it more interesting, and which is exactly what we want to see. So, only a 2-round lead. They save the AWP on the Indian side. the question still is, will it be enough? Ooh, there was a chance there. Imagine if he lands that shot and they steal away the AK. That's how you get back into those rounds, but he's not able to for the minute. Instead, it's Pakistan being a lot more careful. I do like this attempt to boost up here and find a target. There's nobody on the other side. It looks like they've decided to stay away from the AWP, go towards the A-bomb side instead, but that smoke is... What do you do if you're Pakistan here? Ooh, nice shot, but they're just going to wait out the smoke. You can do that. It does come with a bit of risk. You never really know what's happening on the other side. There could be another smoke even. So, yeah, they feel a bit nervous. They're starting to walk back. The AWP is now on the A-bomb side. So I guess if they go back to B, that would be a good choice here for the C side.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Just slowly making a move over. Trying to be as coordinated as possible with this, really, and just not give any information away as well. It has worked for them. Just got the one player behind the site. R2B2 now spotted out, tagged up ever so slightly. Should be dealt with quickly. He is indeed. Meanwhile, they were also holding on the other side of things to just catch any aggression coming over there. So pretty good idea of what is going down. And I think it will be another save situation for this AWP. So exponentially closed here. Pakistan looking pretty good. That's a really nice round as well from them, I think. You know, you can very quickly find that first kill. You hear the pistols. You're like, oh, man, this is going to be cool. We'll just go in, mow them all down. Should be easy. But no, they take their time. They don't rush through the smoke. And it pays dividends. I mean, look at what they've done, right? A flawless round. I think he's going to be secured here. I don't think that anyone's really going to run into this AWP. There is a potential for Z to get there. But ultimately, very, very clean, making loads of money. So, yeah, a perfect run of rounds from Pakistan. 3 in a row, looking really nice.
Yeah. Bit of a surprise. Again, I guess we should remember that this is more of a T-sided map. So, for India to already have the 4 rounds is not necessarily bad news. But they won those rounds pretty convincingly. You got to think if Pakistan now are able to continue to turn it around, then maybe India are going to be a little bit frustrated behind it. They have some rifles back. They've already saved the AWE twice, and they can buy some M4s and a single FAMAS on the rest. So plenty of opportunity here for the CT side to make a bit of an impact. They start out with a slight gamble with 3B, 2 middle. Didn't have anyone at the A-bomb side right off the bat. I guess it is very uncommon for the T side to actually rush A on this map, so probably not that big of a risk. But they've fallen back now into a more default kind of defense.
Let that utility rain out. Again, this feels like a more conventional Anubis round. A lot of mid work coming in from Pakistan, though. I do like it. You know, it tends to be one of the more vulnerable areas for that CT side. Making their presence known, however, slowly but surely, meanwhile, there will be a bit of an A main push. So we'll see how this pans out. Bavi using most of his utility there up against the mid connector. Oh my goodness. It feels very risky at the moment, though, because they're still not rotating anyone across. Usually there is a bit of a player to bolster up the A defense or the mid defense. Might actually work for India at the moment, because it looks like, yeah, Pakistan drawing back, fired up. A lot of info gained, kills one, spots another, and able to just really keep them at bay in the final 30 seconds of the round here as well, Anders. This is not looking good for Pakistan.
No, it isn't. Kind of got distracted, lost track of time maybe a little bit too. So yeah, they're getting a couple of kills here, but again, we're down to 20 seconds. It just doesn't feel like there's any way through. Revan will get one, and he spots the second player, so I think they know where everybody is at the moment. Gonna be easy to figure it out. 10 seconds on the clock, and sad but true, those are some really great shots, but he's still... Oh, wait a minute. He's actually planning on the right side. I was going to say he's going to get shot at the back from main, but that's not the case. He has a chance to clutch this 1 versus 4. If he can get one more kill in, you never know what's going to happen. He is trying to sneak through. Might think there's someone coming through, but not quite. Oh, 1 step forward here for Finn, and he's going to be able to spot him and shoot him at the side of the head, but he's still standing still. Sad but true, looking towards dark and hoping to find that opening. Walked out, nobody checked it. There's the kill and fired up. He'll get one in return, but my God, that was close to being around there. Almost clutching it was sad but true.
Yeah, nearly in for him, right? He got a few bullets off. One of those could have been a headshot. Unfortunately, not the case. So pretty key pickup, I would say, from Team India as well. Yeah, man, you can see beautiful entries from him. And a great little spot as well. I do love that. But yeah, it was just that last little bit. He was in the shoulder rather than in the head. It's unlucky. And those are the types of rounds, especially in a BO1, that can really turn the tide. So we'll find out here. But India back on the board, retain their lead. Not going to let it drop. Not going to let it come under contention. And as you mentioned, 4 already on the CT side, but now up to 5. They're in a really, really good spot on a map like Anubis.
Yeah, it's all headed in the right direction. Even if Pakistan had a couple of good rounds there, they themselves have to be careful that they don't run out of money. Nicely done. Pokemon was the one that Neil was highlighting. Definitely a nice opening and going to keep going. C to pick up the kill on R2B2. Fired up. He'll get 1 and he's immediately ready to throw down that Molotov to try and keep them at bay. Revan is going to get dropped here and it's all on Fired Up. I think you need probably another kill here to actually make this round work. And he will get the headshot on Sad, but true. So at least it's a 1 versus 2. He's bought some space for Finn to do something.
Yeah, very possible here. Another clutch situation. Didn't go the way of Pakistan in the 1v2 last time. Ooh, Molotov out. However, Finn just, distracted by the sounds. Trying to move through the smoke. Not going to work. Rocky makes sure there is no funny business here. So completely fair enough. Pakistan will be pretty happy with that fact, losing out on the clutch last time, but when they had the upper hand in this one, they secure it. So a pretty interesting finish to the half here, and there's money completely in the bin for India. So I think that the approach here is going to be a soft one. They do have an M4 in the mixture, but other than that, nothing to really speak of. I'm curious to see what they do with it. Okay, they're just going to go flying out of B main. Little bit of a sneaky man comes in to scoop up that M4, but I don't think we're going to see too much impact out from the rifle.
No, I do like it. I mean, you've got that one thing. It's it is fun to try and see if you can find something early with it. It wasn't meant to be this time, though. So you said stealing away the rifle. Pakistan they are so careful in some of these early rounds, right? They're really trying to make sure that they don't screw anything up, which is not necessarily a bad idea. It can backfire in certain circumstances, but I would say that they're sticking to their game plan at the moment.
It's very true. Not really going to work out for them, though, is it? To be fair, so it might become like a save the M4 into the next type mission. Yeah, every round does feel pretty valuable here. I think both teams approaching the game quite cleanly. We maybe expected India, the way that they played against Bangladesh, the way that they played in the early stage of this one, to maybe pick up the pace from the word go. But once we've come back from a few of these server changes and whatnot, it's not really been the case. Bloodbath at the tail end is going to go the way of Pakistan overall. I mean, without a kit, surely R2B2 is not going to chance here. But they do some decent damage, and he's obviously got his hands onto the big green, which is pretty important at this stage. He will look to back off with that as well. So yes, it'll become even, but again, I think India are happy if they can keep things even moving into the second half. They're really, really satisfied with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he would have won that round if he went for it at the end there, the 1 versus 2, like you said. No diffuse kid, probably a little bit too risky to go for it, even if they have been feeling pretty bold. So we're going into round number 11 here with the game tied up at 5-5, and kind of almost anything can happen, it feels like. Still kind of curious that the game is so slowed down from both sides. I was expecting, I think, a lot more aggression coming out from really both teams. I don't know if it's the map or maybe it's the fact that they are used to playing each other and they have some kind of, feeling about how this is going to go down. But yeah, they're a lot more tentative than I was expecting.
No, it's true. It's very, very true. I think that there is a pretty severe case of nerves and stakes coming into this one. But yeah, definitely on that India side, I'm agreeing. I think I mentioned it in the previous round as well, where it felt like, they just come in all guns blazing. They've already played a game. They're moving through the motions, but I think has slowed down here. So it'd be interesting a little further down the line if we got to see these guys duke it out in the BO3s. But all the same, really, really lovely Anubis, I think, that we're getting here. And I'm kind of happy for a little bit more sense in the game, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if it was super, super aggressive, those types of games can be a bit harder to read, a bit harder to follow.
Sure. Yeah.
So this one is a little easier to dissect, let's say.
Yeah, a little bit of a timeout here. So I'm assuming some tech issue to solve as we're just waiting for the game to get back underway. All tied up at 5-5 with, a surprising turnaround in favor of Pakistan near the end here. I still feel like 5 rounds should be pretty good for India. I'm curious if they are going to make the pace change that we've been discussing when they get to the T side. It's possible that they're going to say, okay, well, now we're going to group up and go somewhere really quickly. Because definitely Pakistan have been playing this slow. Like, they start every round waiting to see if anything is going to happen, giving some space for India to show themselves across the map. And all right, they're seeing a couple of buys in there. Hopefully that means that the server is back online and we're good to go. But only a couple of rounds left to play for. I think one more round for India here, and they're definitely home safe. I think they should be good to go, but we'll see if they can't get it. If it's a 7-5 and Pakistan win the pistol in the second half, it's quite an open match still.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. HSB. Oh, the flash. Pretty clean over the top. Nearly the end of him there. Could have been a big deal. Could have been a big deal, but not the case. So as that sort of exchange goes down, that seems like the area that both teams were putting most of their chips, as it were. I think we're on for a straight up B execute here as we come to the tail end of the half. So nice to see that Pakistan may well have this in the back pocket.
Yeah, they're doing work once again. 2 people at the B-bomb site. Especially that position that R2-B2 is in, very commonly Molotov'd out, although not this time. He does miss a lot of bullets, and with the M4A1, you can't afford to do that. So sure, he's going to get the 1 kill in there, but it clears the path for a bomb plant. Pokemon getting 1 good kill, bombs planted at the same time, and wow, they don't have the money, and they don't have the health to really go for this. So yeah, that spray at the beginning really cost R2-B2, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think definitely interesting to sort of highlight, though, maybe where we're seeing some of the aggression that we were expecting. It's not necessarily in the early stage of the rounds, but definitely feels like it's in the mid-round. You know, once these attacks happen, once the moves happen, especially in this round, did notice in from Dark, a lot of the Indian players just sort of swinging in, not quite positioned well enough with their teammates for trades and things like this. You know, just trying to really get in there quickly, really catch off the Pakistani players in theory before they get comfortable, but obviously just wasn't the case, losing out on a lot of those fights. But yeah, playing very confidently, very around the individuals, as it were, rather than those high percentage plays that we like to talk about as pundits, as commentators and whatnot. So kind of difficult for them to put the brakes on, I think, once they have been unleashed, for sure. But yeah, it's still looking good for India. If they can pick this one up here, then I think we're in for a very, very interesting second half to see how Pakistan in particular approach that CT side.
I mean, it's all trending in the right direction. I'm surprised by the turnaround here. All the signs at the start of the game were pointing towards India being the more dominant team, but maybe the tech issues kind of, delaying Pakistan's start a little bit. Now that they've been mostly sorted out, they are kind of back online. HSB with 15 kills, so he's way ahead of the pack right now. And on the other side, we've got R2-B2, who been up to 14 here. So flashing their way through, checking everything out. They're going to get that opening spray down. Not enough of a defense being put up here. It's finally Revan coming in with a kill, but they know where he is, and they're going to get that lineup even through the smoke. Not bad. Bomb should definitely be planted here.
Yep, plant goes down. Pretty important then that India are able to pull off this retake. We'll see, it hangs in the balance ever so slightly. Barbie trying to draw attention. Finds a big kill as well. What is going on here? R2-B2 just escaped Pokemon for a second. Down to the 1v1 now. And Barbie's got to get this right. Expecting him to be hidden away. Not going to be the case, though. He was confident for the fights and He catches him with nade in hand. You can see Pakistan, goodness me, 7 in 8 there at the, well, not even the tail end, sort of all the way through from the midpoint of that first half. Really turned things around. Maybe indeed the servers were affecting them in the early stages. And yeah, it makes a big difference once they get that sorted.
That's really crazy. Yeah, 7-5. That's a huge swing back now. Still, gotta just caveat that by saying it is a T-sided map. So yeah, it's good for India, and you got to give, or for Pakistan, you got to give them some credit. But there is a chance, I think, that India can bounce back on the second half. We're going to find out as we do head into it now. It's India on the T side, Pakistan on the CT side, and going to be looking for some of these buys that are coming out if it's going to be more straightforward, or if we'll see a little bit more of an elaborate strategy from one of these two teams here. Usually that will be revealed in the amount of utility on that T side. If you see couple of smokes and a Molotov and some flashbangs, you know it's definitely on. But so far, nothing much has been bought. All right, smoke and a kit on Sad But True. That's also obviously always a good indicator on the CT side that there could be a fiery end to the round. Such a powerful thing in a pistol round to just throw it on top of the bomb and just smoke diffuse it. That's definitely been known to happen.
Yeah, very true. I'd be interested to see as well where the utility goes, obviously, with the CT Molotov being changed. Do you have a few more options in terms of that utility? At the same time, it may well have been made cheaper. I've seen a few videos, a few clips, you know, kind of from FPL bros and whatnot, but CT Molotov not really doing a lot of damage these days. So if they're on a rush, if you get the timing wrong, it doesn't make too much of a difference to the overall push. So conversation as the meta sort of develops, I suppose, around where utility is going to be at.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know at the moment. I mean, obviously the fact that the size of it's been reduced as much as it has, it just is kind of a lot of the time you see people throw it out and the T's will just kind of run around it in a weird fashion. So it's definitely harder to make it work quite as well as it did in the past. So here we go. We're back into it. Second half pistol is coming right up, and India looking to crunch the B bomb side from the looks of it. Going to be setting up smokes, trying to wrap through dark and in through the main point of contention here. It's going to be R2B2 to open up the second half with a good kill, and that should clear the way at least for a bomb plant. Oh no! That's actually she going to be able to pick up the kill on the Bavi, so bomb plant delayed.
Yeah, a little bit. Allows that CT side to get in. They will get it down cleanly, but yeah, a bit more pressure on India now. Can't get into those clean post plants. It's making a bit of a difference. R2B2, though, pretty big kill from him. Comes round with another 2, in fact. Goodness me. See what Pokemon can get done. Low HP bar, but not going to make a difference. Revan ducking and diving will get a pretty big round. Pistol secured. Gap going to get closed here, surely. We come into that conversation around force buys once again, but a really, really big pistol picked up by India.
Yeah, surely that's going to set them up nicely. For the Pakistan side, what will they choose to respond with here? Single flashbang at the moment, and actually not much else. All right, so they're playing kind of a controlled game. They're basically saying we want to be as rich as possible once we're able to buy something better, but we'll just, you know, keep it cool with the one single flashbang for now. Couple of Mac 10s on the Indian side, so they're ready to chew up anyone that doesn't have any body armor. Nice setup for them as well. Flashbang setup, 4-man peek, and so far, he's handling himself pretty well. Might get run down here. Yeah, he will be. So they're going to steal that Galil over. I'd probably try and save the Galil if it was me, but we'll see if they want to be a little bit more aggressive. The bomb's going to be planted, so the round is definitely going to be won here by India. The question is just, is that Galil going to make it into the next round?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe not the biggest question of the day, but can certainly make a bit of a difference. Are you a fan of the Galil or no? I personally really do not get on with it.
I feel like I play all right with it. For me, it's the FAMAS that I just don't know what to do with. But Galils, I can make them work, I think, most of the time. Yeah, so I'd be happy if I had a chance to save a Galil into a round where I would have had an M4 otherwise. I'd probably just do that and say, fine, whatever, let's just play with it, you know. So yeah, no, I don't hate it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I can get behind it. You save yourself a lot of money, especially the thing is as well, again, when you're playing at this super high level, he's actually not going to save it. So it's a bit of a redundant point I'm about to make, but you do save a lot of money, and that's very, very important, you know, for potential saves and things like this. And you can see what happens, right? He goes in, buys up. He's going to have to get the M4 that maybe he didn't want. He was on the loud M4. Now he's on the silent one, and he's lacking a bit of utility. So, you know, it does obviously make a difference, especially for a CT side where that early half econ is very slow rolling.
Well, this could be one of the really pivotal rounds. Game is tied 7-7. A nice big swing. How is he allowed to get away with it? He was solo even from the first engagement, but a huge double kill coming out. And India kind of put on the back foot a little bit here. 3 versus 5, and I don't know what you do right now. I was going to say you could wait for Pakistan to do something, but they're obviously being very, very defensive, so you might be waiting all day.
Yeah, it's very true. It's going to be a tough round to break back into here. But they will give it their best go nonetheless. Just holding a few angles at the moment outside of B, trying to make some noise. Smoke goes down. Is anyone coming behind it? You know, in the same vein, they've maybe shot themselves a little bit in the foot, showing that presence. You can see rotation comes back around, but fired up, waiting for an opportunity. A very dangerous swing, but he makes it work. That nade as well is good. 3 versus 3 out of nowhere, it feels like. You know, it turned in a matter of moments here, and Bharvi with a big, clean frag. Suddenly, the round is in favor of Team India. The A rotators miles away from the action, no kit to speak of, and no confidence to go for it. They're going to save. Goodness me, that flips on its head. And I mean, they make it look so easy.
Yeah, what a turnaround from such a brilliant start. You give up that kind of round. It's so painful. I bet you Pakistan would want that back and another redo of it. That kind of double opening is something that you don't get every day. But they kind of squandered their opportunity to do a lot with it. So here we are. 8-7 instead in favor of India. And the money. This is the first buy round for Pakistan. So kind of throwing it away like that, that's painful. And hopefully they can recover from it mentally. How does that happen?
Yeah, tough, man. Very, very tough. I think you have to really watch yourselves in those sorts of situations. And it's one of those, isn't it? You're 5v3, that first player to go down, it's like, it's not necessarily going to be my fault, but you have to be careful. If you're that first domino, really, really hard to recover. And you see, you know, the nade comes in. It's like, can't really do much about that. So ultimately, you just have to sit on your heels, not let them in, play things patiently. And they were waiting for a mistake. They were waiting for an unforced error. It came their way. They capitalized massively and took the round because of it. So yeah, you just really have to watch yourself as a defender in particular with how cheeky you are with the peaks.
Well, this is a chance here for India. Ooh. Nice little boost on the Pakistan side. But I was going to say, if you win this one, I think all the momentum is going to be gone from Pakistan, and you can really start to get fired up in this game. They've got some presence in middle. Again, they want to attack that dark position. I think that dark position is probably one of the most important parts of the map anyway, so it makes sense. Even if you don't get kills there, just pushing either the Ts or the CTs away, depending on what side of the map you're on, it means so much. So much information that the CTs can get if you allow them to stick around there. So, a good job on India so far, kind of trying to make sure that that's not going to happen.
Oh, great position here. R2B2. Oh, nearly the double, man. The big thing there is that he has let the bombs spill ever so slightly, so it does give a bit of an idea across, but they've got that mid control. They know that, you know, likely with 2 out deep on A. Oh my goodness. This is now just a bloodbath. Fights everywhere, but really well read. India let the aggression come to them and then just completely burst. It does seem like mid is an area that both of these teams really don't put a lot of defensive presence in. But India seem to be capitalizing a lot better, at least in this round. Really, really clean stuff from them. And they will eliminate the entire Pakistani squad.
Okay. So we're starting to see a little bit of the India that we saw, I think, at the beginning of the game. They're back now with a vengeance on the second half. 9-7, and the money go for like a weird half buy here. I think if you're on the Pakistan side, but it's not going to be much more impressive than that. So it's R2B2 still leading the charts with 20 kills. So he's doing a remarkable job at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. It's slipping out of the hands of Pakistan slowly but surely.
Yeah, man. Not taking a lot of time either. Ooh, that looked like it could have been a collapse. I'm going to try and get both anyway. Looking good here as the numbers continue to be thin. There was another A attack that came round. But yeah, not an awful lot to speak of for the upgraded pistols at this point, unfortunately. For Pakistan, the CT side not really getting off the ground in any vein. Pokemon's maybe giving us a bit of something here, but ultimately, yeah, it's looked like a struggle. Yet to pick up a round, you got to bear in mind, right? 10-7 might not look awful, but it's 5 in a row for India at this point.
Yeah, they're putting it together quite nicely. Don't really know if there's much to complain about. For Pakistan, the question is, do they have a deeper game plan to try and deal with what's happening here? Do they have anything left in the tank to stop India from continuing on? Because at this rate, they're not going to have many more buy rounds left, right? 10-7, but every other round you're down to, at best, kind of a half buy. So you've got to make it work now.
Flash over the top for a bit of a mid play. No one peeking in. It's Revan with a late one towards Dark. Again, just confident for the swings, making them work. No consideration for the disadvantage of an angle like that, being on a left eye. Blah, blah, blah. He's just lovely and confident. Maybe being a bit quiet in that first half, but this second half, he's really been running wild. HSB also showing him how it's done on the AWP.
For at the very least, spray on through, and somehow Pokemon just had an inkling there. Going to be finding fired up through. Does peek into it. They line up, and it's an absolute slaughter. That couldn't have been any better timing. So triple for him is going to cement the round surely. R2B2, he's got 50 seconds, but he needs Pakistan probably to make a long series of mistakes. I don't think he's going to be able to just walk his way in and get the round. First point of in contact, and it's the AWP in the middle, so Pakistan finding another round. Finally, here on the second half.
Yeah, looking good for sure. See here on things rolling forwards. I think, you know, for me, there's an awful lot to sort of go over with the way that Pakistan have maybe been playing. Not quite the... I don't know, the most put together side, it felt like, to begin with. Not super coordinated on the defense, unfortunately, for them. So I think that there has been a pretty big drop-off into the second half. But maybe that round is going to be the springboard that they need. The unfortunate thing is they have an awful lot of the Indian economy to get through. Pokemon, though, seems to know what is up here. 2 very clean frags to kick things off. Certainly our player to watch, proving it a little bit in the past couple of rounds for sure.
This expensive round already here for the Indian side. Low on health is one of their players, and they've lost 2 others, so quite on the back foot once again. Pakistan, all right. Just as we kind of are about to write them off, or at least question whether or not they can stick in the game, they seem to find a little bit more strength. A minute on the clock here, and I like, what do you do from here on out? Okay, they're gonna try and fake the A bomb side. It looks like a little bit, throw some grenades in there, but don't know if anyone's buying it.
Well, yeah, that would be the truth for sure. I think with a deeper push in through A main, Molotov going to split them up there as well. HSB finds himself a frag. And he will indeed be able to back off thanks to his Molotov. So a little bit uneventful here towards the tail end. But of course, Pakistan with those earlier kills done enough. Not much that India could really do without the bomb plants here, Anders. That's the key thing, you know. Makes a real difference moving forward. So maybe they, like us a little bit, felt that they could have had this one in the bag. And Pakistan showing them that they are not going down without a fight.
Yeah, they're battling all the way to the end. Fired up will get to save the AWP, but that's about it. 9-10. Surprisingly, a closer game than I was expecting here. We talked about it going into it with Neo a little bit, how India, a lot of Counter-Strike happening these days in the region, so just the expectation probably was they were going to be able to field a little bit of a stronger team. And honestly, the first game obviously looked really one-sided and good, but here today versus Pakistan, they're not having the same level of success. I wonder if it's the map that's making them uncomfortable, if they just don't, because they seem to be playing a very different pace of Counter-Strike. Here in the middle, it's Pokemon. Great setup, and oh, he actually got a third headshot. That's disgusting, and that leaves only 2 players left on the Indian side. All right, that's really great sequence.
Maybe remembering who he is a little bit and that he should be a fearsome foe. Really solid look from him. Absolutely fantastic. Revan creeping in on this AWP, though, could be a very, very dangerous factor. HSB flashed off. Ooh, AKA closing the gap. A little faster than he was expecting. Where is this second player, though, is what R2B2 is going to ask. Did he hear a footstep over there? He must have done, right? With, all the Molotovs and whatnot coming round. Clean finds from him. And suddenly a 2v2 unfolds. They are split. Oh, they are far away from the bomb site. India have just made this very interesting indeed. A little utility remaining as well. However, the cheeky walk through the smoke surely not going to work. Noise being made out in towards A main. So you got to get this right. He unfortunately misses the timing on it. And Revan with the AWP trained in on A main. Huge steal from India. Absolutely enormous round for them to be taking. The 4v2. That was your even up opportunity, Pakistan, but they let it slip.
In spite of this, it's such a beautiful start, isn't it? Sick from Pokemon. How do you keep up a round like that one? That's a question they might end up asking themselves if this doesn't go the way. And again, they're a team that, in terms of the money, they can't afford to lose these kind of rounds. We're nearing the end of the map here. You don't want to be giving up a round like that one. They'll have enough to put together a buy, and it's not terrible either. So I guess in that sense, they're being saved a little bit by some of the earlier success. But yeah, it's no more mistakes here for Pakistan. If they want a chance to actually make the comeback and win this one, then they have to play more or less flawless Counter-Strike from here on out.
All right, let's see if they are capable. Gotta dig deep. But yeah, man, this is it, right? No second chances against India here. Decent utility, no excuses there. Plenty of kits as well to give the retake a go. You can feel there's a fair bit of pressure in the early stage. Not quite as much aggression coming out from Pakistan. They made that part of their game the past few rounds. Oh, man. The timing for Sad But True. He was on that angle for a while. Decided to pull out the smoke. Whatever possessed him. That's a bit of a desk slammer for sure, but it gives India the advantage.
Yeah, desk slam. Hopefully just the desk, not the monitor. If you're going to be punching something, at least let it be the desk in front of you and not anything electronic. 30 seconds here. Oh, all right, a little bit of an adventure as they to go find the kill onto Finn. They do get challenged from R2B2, who's been the star player in a drop down from Revan. Okay, so 3 versus 2, but that's the bomb, and it gets caught. Oh no, it's such an awkward position. Only 17 seconds left. They might just win the round of time. I don't think they can get the bomb and run it back. This is a nightmare. Pokemon going to get the kill, and somehow Pakistan will be able to get a step closer, make it a 10-11 scoreline.
Yeah, man alive. I mean, maybe the pressure getting to these teams a little bit. Kind of wild, though, isn't it? Kind of wild. But we'll see here moving forwards if it has sort of an effect. But yeah, I mean, India will be kicking themselves. They let it end like that, when they were maybe in for contention and just a few mistakes, a fumble of the round almost. Not really the cleanest finish, which is never a nice feeling. And again, it can affect you. You have to just roll through into that next round, which if it were maybe a little earlier on in the game, you could sort of talk about it, stewing it a little bit, but you just don't have time to do that here in round number 22.
Definitely not. Like, this is not the time to be losing the bomb in that position. devastating news for India, but you know, again, they have a little bit of money in the bank, so they're trying to put something together here, and speed is the key. They're going to be pushing right through. It's R2B2 with 3 great opening kills. Should be a bomb plant here. Dark. Oh, the smoke is just fading, but they're going to throw up another smoke inside, and realistically, they should be able to keep this grenaded for a real long time. Walking its way through Pokemon, that's a very risky move, and it still, in spite of everything, might be India getting to match point here first. It looks like it, yes. Sad but true is going to be walking away, so 12-10 in favor of India.
Yeah, it feels ever so slightly like that unfortunate situation for Pakistan, one that we obviously will talk about quite a lot. Maybe too little, too late. The fact that India had a run of 5 solid rounds in a row to kick off this second half obviously has made a huge difference, just giving them enough of a buffer to make a few mistakes like they did in the previous round. Whereas Pakistan do not have that breathing room. Still could close the gap here, only a couple rounds. Certainly not out of the realms of possibility. The only issue for me is the fact that, you know, I think that 3v2 should have been saved rather than trying to go for the risky move. They have somehow managed to take a loan from somewhere and cobble together a buy. I really didn't think it would be this good, to be honest with you, but they have they've got something that is a lot more workable than I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised too, to be honest, but yeah, I get it, getting the job done here. MP9 in play. Obviously lacking some of the grenades, but still, they're fairly well equipped here. Fired up, ready and waiting. Will get counter-peeked immediately by Rocky, so at least the trade is in. But it does leave them still a man down, and with a potential... Oh, right through. How did he even know? Finn is going to be mad about that one.
Harvey, though, this is the big move. Now, it feels like he's in behind, but he's not really. You know, we've got to push through Dark here. We've got another player looking to maybe join this push. They're getting control of the canals. So it's a really weird sort of situation. It all depends on the timing, really. It seems like, as well, Pakistan a little bit savvy to the fact that someone could be in behind. They'll definitely know now. He reveals himself that he's locked a couple of them in. And it's actually the A-bomb site that ends up being open. So with this push down middle, you know, really weird sort of game state to deal with and to read. But it's India that are going to come out on top of it, get that bomb down, buy themselves a good 15 seconds of plant time here. So Pakistan, for all the marbles, got to pull off this retake.
Yeah, last chance for them right now. What have they got? No smoke. I'm not seeing a kit either at the moment, so already it's made very difficult trying to throw in the grenade. It's going to be Revenant take down Rocky. Burning alive a little bit, perhaps, but doesn't really matter at the end. A 13-10 victory. It will be India to put up their second victory of the day here and taking down Pakistan. Even though it took a minute, they got the job done in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, you know, the fact that they had that pretty strong start, they were the ones in the driver's seat early on. Sure, we might have had a few issues, but it looked like Pakistan, you know, really bounced back once they got things sorted. In that first half, they found 7 rounds in 8, so, you know, pretty strong streak there, isn't it, really? But it was that second half that was the big issue. They lost the pistol, and then it sort of spiraled, lost a couple rifle rounds, and they were just playing catch-up the whole time. And, you know, mistakes in there from India, but still not enough to capitalize on. It did feel like a good majority of the rounds in that second half that India lost, it was more on them than it was on Pakistan, you know, really finding a solid sort of game plan. We had a few rounds where, you know, it was Pokemon taking over, finding 2 or 3 kills. These are really, really difficult rounds to rely upon, to call upon. So yeah, it's a little tough for Pakistan, but not quite the same level of depth that India have.
No, not this time around, but definitely, I've got to say, far more competitive than I was expecting. So I'm still pleasantly surprised by Pakistan able to field an interesting match here against India. And for India, I've got to say as well, I feel like some of the, I don't know, some of the aggressive style that seems to suit them very well, it kind of disappeared on the map. So I'm curious if we're going to see Anubis from them in the future. If that's something that that they will still be playing it a little bit slowly, or if they will try to pick some other maps that maybe they can be a little bit more speedy on. It just seems to suit their style well when they're running in there to open up some of those rounds.
Yeah, I know, it is very true. To be fair, I don't know. It's maybe one of those where, you know, you're not as familiar with the map potentially, but want to be more familiar against the team. So maybe it makes sense that it's like one that they could test quite well because they know how their opponents play. But we'll see. We'll see. I think it's potentially a map that they could lean on, but doesn't feel like a big favorite. But that's the way that the BO1s can go sometimes. You know, you really have to play that veto well, and especially if you're in there with like permabans and everything, which seems to be the case with Vertigo at the moment, you have a little less room to maneuver. But still gave us a really close game of Counter-Strike, which is always very exciting. You know, a bit of a shame for Pakistan in the end, but I think that a great game of CS is sort of what we're after at the end of the day, Anders, you know, and that's definitely what we got. We're trying to build this little bit of a rivalry, as is there in sports classically, India, Pakistan. Indeed, you know, it might just be here in Counter-Strike as well.
Yeah, why not carry over that tradition? I'm sure that's something that's already happening locally at the scene. But yeah, what a great day for India, winning their first couple of games here. Should have put them well, you know, ahead in the bracket, and you know, we'll see what the end result will be. But certainly, it looks like they are the team to beat at the moment. So we'll see. I think we are, without even a break, I think we're just kind of going to try and see if we can get into the next game. This one did, you know, kind of drag out a little bit. So if there are no complaints, let's just keep it going. Might as well try and see if we can get there. And yeah, because we did end up changing servers like